For today's session, we're going to have the zero and negative exponents. Okay, so para sa session na ito, pag-uusapan natin yung zero and negative exponents. Though in this session, mas magko-concentrate tayo sa negative exponents, maganda rin na bigyan din natin ng emphasis. Paano ba natin tinitreat mathematically yung zero exponents? So, for zero exponents, we all know in our mathematics, in our basic math, that any number raised to 0 is equal to 1, where a should not be equal to 1. Okay? Yun ang tatandaan natin, that any number, regardless kung gaano siya kalaki, gaano kaliit, as long as we raise it to 0, the result is equal to 1. Now, the next thing na kailangan natin kung tandaan is yung konsepto ng negative exponent. Now, take note here that any number raised to a negative exponent that is equal to 1 over a raised to n. Okay? So, napansin po ninyo, yung a raised to negative n, for us to remove the negative exponent, napupunta siya sa denominator. So, we tend to get its reciprocal. So, yan po yung rule na susundin ho natin pag nag-solve tayo ng mga expressions involving negative exponents, specifically negative exponents. Okay? So, yan po yung mga rules for zero exponent and negative exponent. Okay, let's have the first set of our examples. So our instruction here is write each expression without using negative exponents or parentheses. Assume that no denominator is 0. So kagaya po ng binanggit ko kanina, though nabigyan ho natin ng emphasis yung zero exponent, magpo-concentrate ho tayo mainly sa negative exponents. Okay? So a while ago, we discussed that any number which is represented by a, na i-raise natin sa negative exponent, ang nagiging itsura niya pagka tinreat natin, for us to remove the negative exponent is we get the reciprocal or simply 1 over a raised to n. So ito po yung gagamitin ho nating rule as we answer yung mga examples dito sa ating slide na ito. So first one, we have 4 raised to negative 3. Now, applying our rule that any number raised to a negative exponent that is equal to 1 over a raised to n, pag in-apply ho natin yan dito, that will become 1 over 4 raised to 3. Okay? So, dito po yung a natin ay 4, yung n natin ay yung negative 3. Okay? Negative 3. Ayan. So, we all know that 1 over 4 raised to 3, pwede po ho natin siyang i-simplify. That is equal to 1 over 64. Okay? Because 4 times 4 times 4, that is 64. So, 4 raised to negative 3, therefore, is equal to 1 over 64 if we are going to simplify it. Let's have the example number 2. Here, we have quantity 4a raised to negative 2. Ayan. So, dito, yung ating a natin, yung expression natin na buo, ay 4a na nasa loob ng parenthesis. Ang purpose kasi ng grouping symbol or parenthesis is yung value, tinitake niya as one value siya, as one group, as one term. So, if we will try to apply this one here, that is equal to 1 over quantity 4a raised to the second power. So, yung 4a na nasa loob ng parenthesis, sakop siya ng buong negative 2. Yun yung purpose ng ating parenthesis. Now, if we will try to check, ito po ay application na naman ng isang laws of exponent po natin na power rule ng laws of exponent. Okay? Power of a power o power rule. So, in this case, i-distribute lang natin yung 2 sa loob ng grouping symbol that is equal to 1 over 4 raised to the second power, a raised to the second power. Eh dahil alam natin na yung 4 raised to the second power ay pwede pang i-simplify, therefore, our final answer is equal to 1 over 16a squared. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, the quantity 4a raised to negative 2, kapag po ito sinimplify ho natin gamit yung ating rule for negative exponent, that is equal to 1 over 16a squared. Okay? So, that is our example number 2. Let's have example number 3. That is 4a raised to negative 2. Medyo kakaiba ho siya. Magkaiba ho yan with number 2. Dito, wala nang grouping symbol sa ating example. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Ibig sabihin, yung negative exponent po natin ay intended lamang kay a. Ibig sabihin, hindi kasama si 4 doon sa negative exponent na 2. In that case, we have 4 quantity 1 over a squared. Siya lang ang yung a square lang, yung a raised to negative 2, siya lang ang inapplyan ho natin ng rule kasi wala namang grouping symbol. Yun nga ang purpose ng grouping symbol eh. Yung buong expression, tinetake natin siya as 1. At dahil wala namang parenthesis dito, ibig sabihin si a lang ang maaapektuhan ng ating negative exponent rule. Kaya naging 4 quantity 1 over a square. Simplifying this part further, you have that is 4 times 1, that is 4 over a square. Therefore, 4a raised to negative 2, the simplified form now is equal to 4 over a square. So these are the first set of our examples for zero and negative exponents. Let's have the second set of examples. Our instruction is simplify each expression without using negative exponents or parentheses. Assume that no denominator is zeros. Okay? So, kanina, dahil magko-concentrate tayo mainly sa negative exponents, we will be using this pattern, okay, para guided tayo later on sa pagsusolve or pag-simplify ng mga expressions in removing the negative exponents and the grouping symbols. So let's have our first example. So that is m raised to negative 4 quantity raised to 3. Okay? So ito po ay application din po ng power to power rule ng laws of exponent. So pagka in-apply ho natin yun dito, that is m raised to negative 12. However, since the instruction is to remove the negative exponents, we will apply this rule. So in this case, our final answer for number 1 is 1 over m raised to 12. Okay, so m raised to negative 4 quantity raised to 3, if we will try to simplify this one, that is 1 over m raised to 12. That is our example number 1. Let's have example number 2. That is b raised to negative 5 multiplied to b raised to negative 3 all over b raised to negative 15. Ngayon po, dalawang laws of exponents ang gagamitin ho natin dito. Una is yung concept ng product rule. So dahil same base yan, we copy the base and then we add their exponents. So negative 5 plus negative 3, that's negative 8. So b raised to negative 8 over b raised to negative 15, konsepto ho ng quotient rule sa laws of exponents. So in this case, pwede ho nating sabihin that b raised to negative 8 minus negative 15. Ayan. Okay? Pwede ho nating gamitin yung ibang laws of exponents sa pag-simplify. Pwede ho tayong mag-stick doon. Okay? So that is b raised to negative 8 plus 15. Simplifying this further, that is b raised to 7. Okay? So that is our example number 1 and example number 2. Okay, so let's have our last example. So same instruction, simplify each expression without using negative exponents or parentheses. Assume that no denominator is 0. So again, we will still be utilizing our rule in treating any expressions raised to a negative exponent, wherein our rule there is any number which is represented by a raised to negative n that is always equal to 1 over a raised to n as the final answer if we want to remove the negative exponent. Now let's have our example number 3. Now in this case, we have quantity 4r raised to negative 2s all over t raised to negative 1 quantity raised to negative 2. So ito po ay application ng dalawang rule. We have here actually isang rule. We have here the quotient of a power. Okay, quotient of a power rule. And in that case, ang ginagawa ho natin dito, kung naalala nyo po sa laws of exponent, dinidistribute ho natin yung negative 2 dito sa loob. So we have here 4 raised to negative 2. We have r raised to 4 kasi magiging negative 2 times negative 2. And then s raised to negative 2. All over t raised to 2 kasi negative 2 times negative 1, you have positive 2. Okay? So, step by step, gawin muna natin yung step by step kasi meron tong shorter solution. Applying this particular rule, dahil may mga negative exponent doon sa ating numerator, pwede mo po itong sabihin na 1 over 4 square, ayan, times r raised to 4 times 1 over s square. Okay? Kaya lang, hindi pa yan simplified. All over t square. Hindi pa yan simplified kasi complex fraction siya. So, simplifying this further, you have r raised to the 4th power over 4 square s square all over t square. Okay? Ngayon, Ito po ay perfect example ng complex fraction. Okay? Pag sinabi natin complex fraction sa grade 8 math, yan yung numerator tsaka denominator ay binubuo ng mga fractions. Pag mga ganun, sinisimplify natin siya. So in this case, pag a-apply ho natin yung pagsisimplify ng complex fraction, so ang ginagawa ho natin dito, yung ating numerator ay imumultiply sa reciprocal ng denominator. Kasi division of fraction yan eh. We copy the dividend and then we multiply, we get the reciprocal of the divisor and then we proceed to multiplication. Ulitin ko yung rule sa pagde-divide ng fraction. We get the dividend, we copy the dividend, we get the reciprocal of the divisor and then we proceed to multiplication. Yun lang ang ginamit natin dito. So, ang dividend natin dito ay r raised to 4 all over 16s square. And then t square, we get the reciprocal of this. So, that is 1 over t square. And then, proceed to multiplication. Simplifying this, that is r raised to 4 all over 16s square t square. Kaya lang, if you will try to check, masyadong mahaba yung solution ho natin. Ano? So, there is an alternative solution here. Ngayon, kung papansin po ninyo, nung dinistribute po natin yung negative 2 dito sa loob, ito po ang naging sagot. Correct? Ngayon, may mas maikli pong solution dyan. Ang logic po behind negative exponent sa rule na ito is any number raised to negative exponent, for us to remove the negative exponent, ang tendency niya bumaba. Okay? Mapunta sa denominator. Yun yung logic niya. Yun ang gagamitin natin ho dito. Dahil in this case, meron tayong dalawang expression na may negative exponent, namely this one. Ito yun, di ba? Ito. Tsaka ito. I-mark natin para guided tayo. So, yan po yung dalawang expression na may negative exponent. So, para masadali, para masapaikli natin yung solution, direkta nating ibaba yung 4 raised to negative 2 and then s raised to negative 2. Ito po siya. So, r raised to 4, hindi natin ginalaw dahil hindi naman negative ang exponent niya. Binaba natin si 4 raised to negative 2, binaba natin si s raised to negative 2, so tanggal ang negative exponent. But then, since ang 4 raised to second power ay pwede pang isimplify, yan ay r raised to 4 over 16s square t square. So, mas madali, mas maikli. Ngayon, may other example, may mga other cases pa yan. Paano kung negative exponent is nasa denominator? Baliktad ang proseso, iaakyat natin siya para maging positive. So, vice versa lang. So, yan po yung mga examples ho natin ng negative exponents. Naway marami kayo naintindihan at naunawaan sa mga examples na ating pinakita a while ago. So, that is the zero and negative exponents.